Oh, hey there. Welcome to this broadcast. This is Danielle Ford. Please enjoy this one eyed dog. Please enjoy it. I think it's an important conversation to have. And what I'm going to do really quick is give you a rundown of why I'm doing this. Okay. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my backstory. A lot of you already know. Going to talk to you about my diagnosis of my mental disorder that I got, what that led to, some stigmas around it, some truths that I found out about it, and some ways that it directly applies to my position as a trustee right now, and ultimately why it was the reason why I decided to run for the school board, and what's next with it. Okay. A lot of you already know my backstory. I just have talked about it a lot. I've always been very public about things. I believe in authenticity. Authenticity doesn't always mean telling everything, right? But it just means being real. So that's no secret. But if my backstory up until now, in a nutshell, right, is that I grew up in a chaotic childhood that had a lot of substance abuse and money problems and mental illness and a lot of craziness. Here in Las Vegas, I went to 8 different CCSD schools. I always had good grades. I was a GATE student. I was an honors student, but I ended up dropping out. Looking back, some of the reasons why I dropped out and why I ultimately feel like the school district failed me is that they didn't take notice that I went to a bunch of different schools, that I was entering different times of the year, that I had already had some curriculum in the previous school, and now I was getting it again. I was bored. Maybe it was assumed that I learned something, but I didn't. A lot of things, but there was nothing that followed me grade by grade, and it should have, right? On top of that, I was working since I was 14. I was an assistant manager when I was 16. I bought my own car when I was 15. I used to walk from school right across the street to where I worked in the warehouse, slugging boxes around for private school kids for their uniforms. Got my car with that and got a better job, obviously. And so when I was in my junior year, I still had good grades. The only reason I probably even went to school is because I had a lot of friends and I was really involved in theater. So I kind of have this like perception of being this like flunky high school dropout. That's not the truth. I wasn't a trouble kid. I was somewhat popular, enjoyed social stuff in school, was on the homecoming court 1 year. It was nothing to the extent of I flunked out or anything like that. In fact, I passed my proficiencies my sophomore year. I've always had a really high IQ. And when I was about to not be able to graduate because I was going to have to do 2 years of summer school to make up for PE because I never went because PE was my first period and I had to work after school. I didn't want to get sweaty and ruin my hair, ruin my makeup. And I just used to go to class second period and start then. Nobody asked me that. They just, criticized me for failing PE. So I dropped out, or I signed out, left school, immediately got my GED, which is a high school diploma. You can do anything with it. Got my GED, registered for beauty school, which is what I wanted to do. Completed beauty school, started working, got married, had a baby at 18 years old. My husband was young too. He was 2 years older than me, and he was like, what are we going to do? So he decided to join the Army. This is in 2004. So I went off on my career and here in Vegas, and he joined the military. Immediately got sent to basic training, AIT, and then immediately to Iraq. So he was gone for 18 months straight. He came back 9 months into his tour, got me pregnant with my second kid, and then went back to Iraq. Okay. He came back a different person. So when I was pregnant with my second, I wanted to get a good house on the military base where we were stationed, which is Colorado Springs. So I left Vegas, packed up my stuff, 8.5 months pregnant, took my 1-year-old and moved to Colorado Springs on Fort Carson to get a better house before all of the service men and women got back. And we got stuck in like an apartment complex. So I did that. Anyway, he came back a completely different person. I don't know if it was the war that did it or if it was something that was already manifesting. I don't know. But it led to some violence, a lot of emotional violence, and a lot of crazy drama and trauma, to the point that I became friends with the military police and eventually had to pack up my stuff in the middle of the night, my kids, and with no money, drive home to Vegas, the 12-hour drive. Came back to Vegas, started working as an esthetician. Also, when I was in Colorado Springs, I was 20 and I didn't have my license to practice aesthetics, right? So, but in Colorado, you can bartend at 18. So I went to mixologist school and became a certified mixologist, and I was bartending when I was there a little bit. So I came back here and then started working at a spa, started building my clientele, worked nights, weekends, doing promotional modeling, spokesmodeling, bartending, cocktailing, anything, sometimes working 3 jobs at a time. Working as a waitress at Joe's Crab Shack, just hustling, right? For years. I saved up money and I opened up a skincare studio. I was 22 when that happened. I studied business and marketing and franchising, and I hired employees and got my back bar, my retail, and incorporated. I learned how to incorporate myself. Did all that. YouTube was just becoming a thing. Social media was like, people didn't know what it even was or if it was going to work. I started using YouTube for my business, got hundreds of thousands of views, started getting very recognized in the field of aesthetics, and had a lot of even estheticians like learning from me and stuff. I decided though at that time, my kids started school, they were in elementary school at this point, and it got really hard to manage a brick and mortar business and also be a single mother. Also in this time frame, by the way, my ex-husband got discharged from the military, came back, again, completely different person. I realized, or he came back and we got divorced, and he was granted 50-50 custody. So he had the kids for like 2 months. He had them on the weekends. So then I realized that he was using drugs. And I filed an emergency hearing. We got a court date about 3 months out, which got postponed a couple different times when he failed drug tests and was supposed to come back for it, and yada, yada. Long story short, I defended myself against him and an attorney after studying the crap out of law and how to do that. And I did my own divorce and my custody battle, and I won full custody, legal and physical custody of my kids about 10 years ago. I don't get child support. He hasn't been in their life. Who knows where he is? I think he's homeless on the street somewhere. I don't know where. Somewhere in America. So then I decided that being a single mom and having a business is quite hard. And there's this thing called the internet, and it's kind of awesome. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand it, and that I should throw my entire being into it. Close my skincare business down that I'd spent almost $100,000 on, with lease and payroll and taxes and retail and all my equipment and everything. And just sell all that stuff as is, call it a day, completely quit everything, and throw myself into learning internet marketing. So everyone thought I was crazy. I did that. Let my license lapse because I didn't want to do aesthetics anymore, and I didn't even want to be tempted to have people like trying to hire me to do their waxing or eyelashes or whatever it was. For 6 months, I studied incessantly. I taught myself through the use of YouTube videos, books, the library, website development, programming, videography, graphic design. search engine optimization, online advertising, apps, um, everything. Okay. So then I was ready to test things out and see if I could do this online marketing thing or not. So I started thinking about what could have helped me when I was younger. And that would have been a club to support teen mothers. So I said, I'm going to start an organization called Young Moms Club. I did that. I started it to be an online resource for teen mothers to focus on themselves and empower their lives, teaching things like the law of attraction, goal setting, achievement, self-care, communication, financial literacy, all the things that I felt like I didn't get and had to learn myself because I was too focused on being a mom and I didn't get the experience of turning into a woman. So long story short, that ended up getting millions of views, dozens of members across the world. It afforded me to become a TED speaker on the subject of reinventing teen motherhood. I won many awards from local magazines, Vegas Inc., been interviewed by a lot of local leaders, became an industry leader on the subject of teen motherhood. Then, while wanting to support teen mothers, started learning about the school district and how we are one of the only states that doesn't support teen mothers, and we also have the highest rate of teen pregnancy and one of the highest rates of dropout. That doesn't make any sense. Who can change that? The school board. Okay. Let me put this little nugget down. She wants to go walk around. So that's where I was with that. Then, oh, also, by the way, I was like, I'm not really making a lot of money right now. I think I should like do something on the side. So I started studying poker. And for a year, I got obsessed with learning poker. I studied poker with books, with YouTube videos, with just playing hands out in the bathtub at the kitchen table, learning different strategies, watching people play, going to card rooms and just watching people play. Okay. I thought, let me test my poker skills. It's been a year. I've never played poker ever in my life at a professional table. Sat down the World Series of Poker at the Rio and won the table and took all the money from the satellite. Okay. So since then, that was years ago. So I'm a ranked poker player now because I've cashed in tournaments. So technically I'm a ranked poker player on the World Series of Poker. Taught myself all that stuff. My kids started getting older and I wanted to be more involved in their school. So I joined the PTO, became vice president of that. Wanted my son to have some male interaction in his life, joined the Cub Scouts. It ended up being that there wasn't a guy to lead the pack. So I did, of course, and there were a lot of crafts that were done. So then I had, and in the meantime of this growing Young Moms Club, I had a lot of people being like, how are you doing this? This is amazing. Can I hire you? Yada, yada, yada. So I started teaching marketing and videography and creating online courses and really figuring out ways to generate income that didn't require me to be there. Okay. So then on top of that, then I had people that were like, can you just do everything for me instead of teaching me? Okay. So I started an agency, hired employees, started learning how to delegate and outsource a lot of tasks, how to manage clients, struggling. Okay. Now that's probably like maybe 4 or 5 years ago at this point. Okay. So maybe 4 years ago, I'm like, I have so many things going on. Really, I think I should focus on my agency, build my clientele, get some affiliate marketing stuff coming in, getting some bigger cash payments, and keep people like in the streamline. So I focused on that. And even though I was successful, I always felt like I didn't have it together. Okay. And I didn't have it together because even though all of these things would happen, it would be like, in the meantime, I left my door open and went to school. Or, oh, I just came down the stairs and guess what? The gas has been on all night. Someone broke into my house in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. and I went over to the door, and it could have been really bad if I didn't say, get the F out of my house right now. And that person knew I was going to fight them and they decided to leave. But that was because I left my car unlocked and they were able to open my garage with the remote. And it was parked on the driveway. So many stupid mistakes. I lost my debit card, which turns into a whole thing. My forgot kids' lunch, driving back when I'm running late for a client, whatever it is. So obviously, being the person who I am, I realized I think I have ADHD a long time ago, like in my 20s. Okay. Obviously. And you meet me, obviously I have ADHD. Okay. Because ADHD, as we know it, is you're distracted and unfocused and you are fidgety or whatever, hyperactive. So through this whole time, my literal number one obsession through all of it has always been like, how can I create systems to make it easier for me? How can I hack this somehow? How can I understand most people do something this way. Like, how can I get it done like much quicker? Okay. How can I pretend like I have it all together by maybe hiring people to do things for me that I'm not good at? So there was always a lot of like shame around feeling like I wasn't really doing it well, or I had to figure out like cheats to do it. And when I would see people succeed in a certain way, it would make me feel like, why can't I do that? Why can't I process things that quick? If somebody was able to take all this information, put it into a spreadsheet, and I would try to do that, and it's like, I haven't done anything. I can't get anything done. Okay. So there was a point, it was about 3 years ago. I'm not going to say what it was, but it was a point where um, I had something happened from my clear stupidity and forgetfulness combined, that wasn't bad, but if I hadn't caught it in time, it could have been super effing bad. Okay. And I was like, you know what? I need to just go see a psychiatrist. That's what I need to do right now. And I have been wanting to see a psychiatrist since I was like 20, but I kept on not seeing a psychiatrist because I believed stigmas. I thought to myself, I have ADHD. Should I get on medication? Then I would learn things like medication makes you turn into a zombie. Medication makes you like you're on crack. It's fake. It's created by the medical pharmaceutical companies to, get people to be on drugs or whatever it is. People saying like, oh, it doesn't really exist. Everybody forgets things. Everybody gets distracted. Oh, this one time I found my keys in the refrigerator, that kind of thing. And I was also really like, I didn't want to be labeled. Like, I had so much pride for some reason. I don't know why. I had so much pride that I didn't want to be like, admit that something was wrong with me or be like, oh, I'm broken. I'm not actually this good or whatever. And so, growing up as a child and a teenager and a young adult, I was always, I've always been like forgetful. I've always been impulsive, distracted, super impatient, clumsy, fidgety, late, unfocused. And while those were my qualities, the labels that other people gave me and ways that I was always described were things like airhead, klutz, dumb, ditzy, space cadet, careless, quirky, scatterbrained, idiot, stupid. Like, how do you make a stupid mistake like that? How do you, how could you possibly do that? Okay. So, so this was really the breaking point because I was at this point where I'm like, okay, I'm definitely broken and I suck. Okay. Then I was like, also, I don't believe medication. I don't even take Tylenol. I don't take anything for periods. I don't do any drugs. I don't drink, like nothing. Or at this point, I was like seldom drinking. Um, and so I was, but then I said, you know what? I don't even care. This isn't, I can't live like this. And I would just rather just be a zombie, get a job at the bank. Like, I don't care. Okay. That's going to be my life. It's pretty much what I said. Like, I'd given up. So I went to a psychiatrist. I did all of this testing. I decided, you know what, I just want a diagnosis, even if they say you don't have it and you're just kind of like distracted. Whatever they say, if they want to have me try meds, I'll try it. If they want me to try something, some strategy or coach, I'll try that too. Even though I'd already tried so many things, I spent the last 10 years going to conferences, doing courses, hiring life coaches, reading every self-help book, every organization strategy, so many things, right? Still wasn't working. I just said, whatever a doctor tells me to do, I'm going to do that thing. Okay. So I went in, they told me you have a shit ton of ADHD. Your brain is clearly ADHD brain. They do brain scanning. It hooks you up to stuff, have you like look at your phone, look at a TV, look at nothing, talk to people, and they can tell what parts of your brain are responding and what parts are not. They had me do a bunch of distractibility tests, and then of course it's long type of survey and questionnaire and conversation. And I got diagnosed ADHD, and I got prescribed medication, which I was not happy about. Okay. But I said, screw it, I'm going to try it. So I came home. By the way, let me back up a little bit. Through my times as a single mom and my struggles being married to an abusive asshole, I had depression at times in my life. And I went to the doctor a couple times and got prescribed antidepressants, but I never took them. Like, I would maybe take it once and like throw it away and be like, I don't need this. I don't need this. I'm going to cure myself with exercise, you know? So I did, and it kind of helped because it was more of a situational type depression. But I know that when you take an antidepressant, it doesn't like kick in, and it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to feel a difference. So I took my ADHD medication and did something, turned back around a few minutes later, and it felt like I had just put glasses on for the first time at 30 years old.